Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. Episode 7 we're on now. This is pre the finale. We've got the final episode next week. I watched this first thing this morning and then I moved off to doing other things. And I still can't get the bad taste out of my mouth. It was not a good episode. Full spoilers, FYI. We'll talk full spoilers. The closing of the episode was so strange and ham-fisted, where you have a pan shot of the land and it says Southlands, and then it burns out and then says Mordor, and you're like, yeah, we know. Who's this for? Who's that part for? Complete newbies, maybe. But you could have had someone say it. Could have had Adar say it. It's no longer called that because it's not. There's never going to be that place again. And then it just goes to. Was this amateur hour at Amazon Prime? Did they get the intern to do that? Whose decision was that? It was the most bizarre creative decision I have ever seen. Not nearly as bizarre as them literally saying what I said sarcastically in between dialogue, and then them repeating it seriously in the show's dialogue. So Queen Regent goes blind. Why were the soldiers letting her do that? You wouldn't. If that was your leader, you wouldn't let them do that. It's fine for them being on the battlefield and things like that, but you wouldn't let them try and save people and put themselves in harm's way. You just wouldn't. And anyway, she gets a bunch of ash and embers in her eyes. And by the way, I'm getting to the pyroclastic flow being very selective on who it killed in a minute. But she gets embers and ash in her eyes. She goes blind. Elendil is leading her on a horse, and she's like, how far? It's like a fucking Monty Python skit. Or sketch, whatever. She's like, how far until we're clear of the ash? How long have we been clear of the ash? About a mile. I see. When she goes, I see, blank stare into the distance, I was like, bet you do, love. Or something like that. Or sort of like, do you, love, was what I said. Elendil literally says, do you? And I'm just bursting out laughter. Who wrote this? Wait, who wrote this and thought it was good? That's something you say sarcastically. Why didn't you just have him go, my queen? Or something like that instead? Somber, sorrowful, sympathetic. Just goes, do you? Fucking hell. Absolutely woeful. Anyway, yes, the pyroclastic flow was incredibly selective. So, last episode, the sword unlocks a dam. They could have just got a catapult on there. Dipshit. In fact, actually, I'm surprised the dam didn't burst from that massive tower collapsing on Adar and his orcs. Why didn't the dam burst there? There's clearly lots of pressure against it. It's clearly not that good. Anyway, so they unlock the dam, and the creators behind the show made a big song and dance around that episode's release and going, this is actually scientific, guys. Water does actually do that. Steam, water in a volcano, in a lava flow, does actually make a volcano explode. And I'm like, sure, whatever. Pyroclastic flow burns everyone alive, though, doesn't it? We open with Galadriel looking like she's doused in Cheeto dust. Again, dumb decision. Having everything orange. Not a good creative choice. It just looks terrible. Anyway, so she's doused in Cheeto dust, walking around. The houses are burnt down. The houses are burnt down. The woods are burnt down. But most people are fine. There's even a horse run past. And you're like, I would rather see Galadriel on fire than the horse. don't put a horse on fire and show me. I don't want to see an innocent animal, whether it's make-believe or not, in pain. Put Galadriel on fire. Have her wake up and she's an elf. She's fine. She's basically immortal. I don't want to see a bloody horse on fire. Anyway, how was you can't in one breath be like, well, it's wholly scientific. That is exactly why a volcano would do that. And then in the next, just ignore all science behind, well, the science which would subsequently follow from your retarded science that you just put in anyway. Pyroclastic flows would burn everyone alive. Everyone would be dead. Melted. Like Pompeii all over again. So that happened. Numenorians, what were they expecting to happen in this episode? Like, what were they expecting not to happen in the episode, sorry. What were they expecting to happen in this fight? Were they expecting just to turn up and it all be fine? Because they have their asses handed to them, and they're like, oh, that damn elf. Oh, we don't never want to come back. And you're like, what? Weren't you braced for a fight? I thought you were braced for a fight. But Elendil loses Isildur. He thinks he's dead. Anyway, he's not going to be dead. Of course not. If they kill him, fuck me, they're really breaking law. But anyway, so he loses Isildur, and he's like, yeah, I get it, your son's dead, but you're a commander. You would have accepted that was the risk. Numenor as a whole would have accepted that was the risk. And then just, oh, goodness me. Again, something which was comedic, but clearly wasn't meant to be. The Queen Regent sat there on a cliff face with, her eyes covered. And she like, calls out for Elendil. And he just ignores her because he's crying. But it's because they missed the beat. So Elendil. And then showed him. And you're like, that's almost comedic based timing. Anyway, good stuff about this episode with the dwarfs. I'm all game for seeing the dwarfs as much as you like. They're great. They're fantastic. They should have just made this like the Mines of Moria series or some. I'd watch that. I would genuinely watch the Mines of Moria series. So obviously they go down. They start mining for mithril. And there's the king catches him because obviously he doesn't want to let them. He catches him. Basically says to his son, you're not going to be king or whatever. And anyway, because they'd broken through and they'd seen the seam of mithril up through the mountain, the end of the episode, and this is what it's dumb decision, because the king has made this massive song and dance about how, no one can you can't be the ruin of him, it's been foretold, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. And then he just throws a leaf down and goes seal it up, and that wakes the Balrog. And you're like, as much as I like the dwarves, that's a dumb creative decision. This show absolutely sucks donkey's dick. It is so bad. It's so bad. They show Theo's ears. I was expecting Theo to have like half elf ears. He just looks like he's got big jug ears. That's all it looks like. I was expecting him to have actual elf ears, right? That's why they keep hiding the tops of his ears? No, apparently that's not why. Apparently that's not why at all. He doesn't have them. So what a wasted opportunity that would have been. For Galadriel to notice and then bring it up with the other elf. Or do you know what I mean? Just something. A bit more depth. And this goddamn thespian language. Stop it. I'm not watching a play. I'm not watching Shakespeare. Stop with the thespian nonsense. Because they espouse so much stuff and say nothing. And that's why the dwarfs are so good to watch. Because they're just like, yeah, whatever. They just talk all normal. And I'm like, yeah, good. I can get with these people. All the thespian nonsense is just so infuriating. It's very ham-fisted. Terrible. That fucking fade out. Mordor. Ah. Jesus. Literally amateur hour at Amazon Prime. Literally amateur hour. What are you doing? It's been that... And then you've got the bloody wizard that's not the wizard that who we don't know who it is. Proven to be good now. And then all the Harfoots like chase him down. Just what a terrible show. But I did watch something good. Hellraiser. I'm going to give that a review later on. Cheers, guys.